stinking cute.
Beaver butt stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, hell
Yeah.
no.
The bibble. Yes, I said bibble. For wiping up your dribble. I don't give a fuck about writings of Theodosius and how much he wanted to suck Jesus' dick. I'm an intellectual authority, and therefore the little ladies need to be quiet. Eh. Welcome to another conversation with the Apostate Sisters. I'm Patty, and I make this channel with my sister Nancy. We grew up in a doomsday cult called the Worldwide Church of God. We're also nerdy about history and culture, but we're critical of religion. So get ready to get mad or to nod your head in agreement as we talk about what's on our mind today. When we talk about the damage caused by oppressive systems, we tend to irk the ire of those conditioned by religion. Why? Because they've pinned their identity on something that's not them. And when we casually show fault with it, their protective self jumps in to write us some rather nasty comments. Recently, we had a bit of a comment section debate that revealed something deeper than just a difference of opinion. It exposed a mix of manipulative and misogynistic tactics designed to undermine our sense of worthiness and credibility. In this video, we're breaking down that small debate to show you how these tactics work, how you can recognize and push back against them in your own conversations, and why they often target women who challenge religious ideas. Let's get started. So it was a short titled, Why Should People Follow Christianity? And yeah, so I did feel like throughout the conversation, in retrospect, I was able to identify how there was just kind of these threads of misogyny through the
Mhm.
honestly kind of ridiculous argumentation that this person brought to the comments. So I don't want to give too many spoilers, um, but I did think we could watch the video first in its entirety because it's 3 minutes long.
Okay.
Um,
It was
and
just
then
one of our
we'll
shorts, huh?
just a short, yeah. Um,
Now, Pat, and I gotta ask too, because there are some people out there that say just don't even engage with trolls, like they're just trying to get a rise out of you. But you were determined to get, I think it was more or less for yourself, right? You just wanted to figure out why it was bothering you so much. There was something not right there.
yes, I did want to figure it out for myself, but that bothered me less. Like I'm pretty okay with like if I get to a point that I'm shaking with emotion because I just am feeling all the feels and yucks about something, like
Hmm.
I'm kind of okay with that. I'm like, well, that's just how I'm feeling about this. It won't stop me really from doing what I want to do. Um, and so I think it was more that once I saw the comment and it gave me the icks where I was kind of the misogynistic threads understanding came later, but right away I was seeing some tactics being employed that this person was like pulling pulling me off course and using to make me feel bad.
Oh, yeah.
So
They
yeah,
do that.
so like I wanted to really dig into what they were saying with every comment because I think it illustrates how internet trolls go about causing the chaos that they do. And so, like, because there's a lot that they know how to trigger within us. And I
Hmm.
think so, if we can identify those things so that the trigger is noticed but not reacted to, then we can handle ourselves and shut down conversations that aren't fruitful earlier. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it I think it's good we're doing this. Because I think a lot of people, their voices shut down because of people like this, like
Hmm.
who use manipulation and intimidation to shut another person's voice down, but we don't want that. We want to hear from all the peoples.
Exactly. Exactly. So that was why, to me, it made sense to go over this. And that's why it made sense in the day that I was doing it. I was honestly coming to that like, all right, you want to play? Let's play. you know? And I was like, this is going to be great content. Like, I literally kept engaging with this person because
Yeah.
I knew that we'd be doing this with it, right? Because I think pretty much from the beginning, it's obvious that it's not going to be anything fruitful. It's not going to be a unifying conversation, you know?
And that was
So
this dude's goal as well. Yeah.
I guess, I mean, I kind of don't get who would have time in their life to go sit on somebody else's channel all day, but
That's just
whatever.
it, cats. I'm sorry that they don't have a life, and that's why they are sitting on their couch, probably in their mother's basement. They're ready. Like they spew this shit off just to antagonize. It's like all of these abusers, they have some sort of like code across the board and they all know what to do to trigger people and they get off on it in a way like they get some sort of validation and they need that in order to think that they're happy. Not a good way to be happy by any means. But these are the
Right.
tactics that they use
Right. I
to
mean,
throw
and I
other
want to
people off
acknowledge
balance.
that people who are coming on other people's channels to say stuff like this are insecure and they're looking for validation.
Right. Yeah.
But the gross part is they're looking to do that by trying to see if they can make somebody else feel bad and step on them, you know? So,
Because they feel bad. They're
well,
trying to,
yeah.
yeah, they don't, well, it's like if you're a really miserable person, in a lot of cases, you don't want to see other people happy and enjoying themselves, especially not when you have put yourself in a place where you are abiding by all of these legalistic like disgusting adherences to, Christian God. Like you have to do this, you have to do that, and they're following it thinking they're doing the right thing, but they're not enjoying themselves very much. How can
Right.
you when you worship a God like that? And then they see us out happily living our lives, and according to them, we're sinning. That infuriates them.
It's like they're coming to every conversation or to each place they're leaving comments with only their ideology as the perfect one. You know, so like it wasn't confirmed, but the way I read today's comments, I think the guy was Catholic, or the person, I shouldn't say guy, but I think the person was Catholic. Just the things that they were referencing, like church history kind of stuff. It's like, okay, well, but like you realize that doesn't apply to so many people
Mm-hmm.
who are the ones we're actually talking to in this video. So anyway, if we keep going, I'm going to spoil more stuff in this video. So I should just play it so we can react to it and see what we think. Yeah?
Yeah, sounds good. Just to clarify, like, who is it? Like, have we dealt with this person before? Or is this one of those people they just showed up to start an argument and then they fucked off? Was it
Yeah, pretty
that?
much. Pretty much
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. I
All
mean,
right.
yeah. I'll have the name blocked out on screen, but it had the word irritated in the name. So it's like,
Why?
I don't
Why
know.
block out
It's
their
one of
names?
those things that it's like, do we even know anymore if these things are bots or whatever? But it did seem more coherent and more human-ish than a bot. But like, what's that test for a, well, never mind. There's a whole test to know like if it's a human or a bot, like if it can convince a human that it's a human. Whatever.
But these people do realize that if they keep, going back and forth in our comments, it's only helping our channel. Do they realize this?
Well, usually that's one of the earlier things I say. If I don't think it's going anywhere, I thank them because I'm
Mm-hmm.
like,
For
yay,
the
you're
comment.
helping
Yeah, yeah.
share our message, you know? Yeah. But it didn't deter this person all that much, really. So, I don't know. Shall we watch the video?
Sounds good. Fire
Okay.
away.
All right. Evangelicalism has really pushed this narrative of a personal relationship with the creator of the universe, which,
Right. Right.
okay, there's issues there. But I think that that has been something that has kept Christianity alive during this time when really the previous things that kept Christianity alive, which was fear of hell and damnation, that started falling out of favor and people were
Right.
rejecting that as an idea. And
Mhm.
so I think yeah, but all the good things now and personal relationship with Jesus became the new hook. It's interesting to recognize that deism sitting out here as like, I'm just going to say there must have been a God that created it all, but I don't see that God now, so I'll just go on believing that that God did at some point exist and do all of this, I guess. Yeah.
I, I mean, it doesn't really make any sense. Why believe in a God of sorts at all then, if you definitely know that you can't prove it? Because Christians will come about and say they have proof of God all the time, correct? Even though there really is not proof of him. I don't know
Right.
how you would even go about proving a God, but deism, it's just like, yeah, I really can't prove it. I just believe it. So isn't that also falling under the category of faith?
Oh, definitely falls under the category of faith. It probably just isn't as directly harmful to yours and people you know daily life as like full on faith religion is. But
Right.
yeah, it's almost like deism exists because of all the people who were indoctrinated in their early life and grew up to hate Christianity, but just had it so deeply embedded that a God must have made all of this that they couldn't
Right.
quite get away from it, and they're willing to let that hang out. Just like that
Okay.
need somehow, that desire that got built into us so young to believe in something bigger than ourselves, you know?
You say, well, don't trust yourself. Trust in something bigger than you. Apparently, we're just not enough, huh? I don't know why there's always had to be something that was smarter than us or more advanced than us. And it
Well,
may just be aliens. All right? Let's go there.
I like to think that all of us are smarter than any of us. And if there's a thing outside of us, a bigger than me that I want to cling on to, I would like to have it be all of humanity. And my belief in humanity's abilities and my belief in humanity's inherent goodness when we're not subjected to traumas. To me, that's the higher power that I could claim.
Awesome. So, okay, I know which episode that's from. Actually, you and I earlier on had recorded an entire episode on definitions, and we ended up never using the episode because there were just too many definitions. I think both of us were just really tired that day. I in particular, I was trying to edit it. I'm like, this is just not working for me. But we got some awesome little clips out of the entire thing because we were talking about things like what's the definition of theism, atheism, deism, so on and so forth. And that was one of the clips. And so that was relatively recently that you actually released it, even though it was older footage.
Yeah, that video, it has a lot lower rate of likes. I think
Okay.
because of what I titled that video, Why Should People Follow Christianity? It may have gotten to a lot of Christians.
Good job.
Oops. Oopsie poopsie. So, anyway, I think it's still fairly non-offensive, but
Right.
you heard what it was about, right?
Yep.
Okay. So the original video, the core point of it was this idea that churches have shifted from fear-based. Ew. Okay. So the point of the original video was sort of you and I talking about the difference as we saw it between theism and deism. And along the way, I happen to mention that, again, how the video starts is talking about how evangelicalism does something different than other churches did. Like they used to talk about hellfire and brimstone and fear of behaving or else. But like kind of because that wasn't popular, they it seems like there was this shift to the personal relationship with Jesus thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
that's
that's
really all
true.
I was saying. And then we talked about a bunch of other stuff in there.
Right.
Um, So so to me that was setting up the idea that like, oh no, no, they're moving it from fear to like a different kind of emotional dependence, right?
Right. Hmm.
Point made. That's all there was to
Well,
it.
I mean, just look at the Old Testament versus the New Testament. Obviously, huge shift if we're looking at them collectively as a whole. Wholly from fear-based to love-based.
Right. So, I mean, I think that point stands, but what we're going to notice about today's conversation is that this troll that came into the comments never actually engaged with that at all.
Hmm.
So what
They
they
never.
did is they came in and they misrepresented the argument. So that's one thing to notice, and we'll point out how they did it. But a troll will like try to look at what you're saying, and then they'll start arguing with you about something that's not even what you were saying,
Yeah.
but it's like
Oh yeah.
something they feel stronger in, so they'll go there with it.
Hmm.
Um, And so we'll notice that they misrepresent my argument and try to like go off on this whole like historical Christianity thing, um, which what that ends up creating when you see that a troll do this is it causes you to start defending a point you were never trying to make, right? Because they get you
Right.
back on your heels and defending yourself. So you have to like kind of pause and be like, is this even a thing I should be trying to defend and why would I defend it? You know?
Right. No, they try to get you into circles. Yes, they try to knock you off your feet. It's like they all know the same tactics. Did they all read the same book as kids? How to fuck with people so that we can try to win an argument even though they're not really winning.
I don't know. I think they just had the same abusive tactics employed on them.
You're probably not wrong.
Yeah, okay. So then the thing that was giving me the yucks, where I landed with that is, I mentioned misogyny, but I'll say the misogyny is pretty covert and it's hitting upon a lot of like well understood tropes within our society and relying on that existing already so that they didn't even really have to say anything. But what they're doing, in more broadly speaking terms, is they're doing intellectual gatekeeping. So they're trying to set themselves up as smarter than me, as more informed, as having more information, as telling me I'm not there yet. Um, so yeah, it's kind of painful. It's kind of painful. But if we can pick it apart, my hope is that other people can see how this works. And so when you have conversations live with people, when you're defending your position in comments, whatever, you can spend your time wisely and not have these assholes waste your time. Because I actually think that might be a big part of the point.
Right?
Demoralize and waste your time because then you're not putting your best effort into something else. So that was why I spent, several times throughout this day replying to this person
Yeah.
because I wanted to expose this shit. I mean, today is about one person's comments, but it's not really, because these are tactics that we see over and over where religious defenders are dismissive of people who disagree with them, and especially women coming out of the patriarchal religious oppressive systems that they're in. Okay, so as we go through the actual comments, I'll try to point out why it's misleading, what I think the commenter was trying to achieve, and then how we can kind of recognize this type of behavior, like if it's happening to you, so we can see if it's intended to shut you down, learn how to respond, and honestly, how to hold space for ourselves to know that our voice does matter, even when assholes go poking at our insecurities that were conditioned into us, because that's what they're trying to do, right? So we're going to talk about all of that. So there's like, how to clap back, how to see it, how to take care of yourself, all of that is going to matter today. Okay. First comment was, you should read some of the medieval saints' writings. They had a deep love for God beyond the fear of hell.
Get
Okay,
right
so
on that.
I know, like,
Yeah.
What is
Right.
that supposed to mean to me? Right?
I mean, at that
Okay.
point, you could have just said, "Oh, great, thank you. I will purchase it on Amazon right now and get back to you." What? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Well, I mean, so right away it's like, okay, this is probably someone Catholic, right? Medieval saints, like it's Catholics to talk about saints. Okay, so anyway, I said back because right now I'm thinking, I had kind of said people that weren't believing in hell anymore, right? Hell wasn't working as a fear tactic to get people to believe in this. And so
Well,
so
yes.
this person's like pushing back that like, oh, loving God is so much more than being afraid of hell, right? Is the vibe I get from that. So here's what I
Yeah.
said back. It's fascinating how deeply people can love a figure they've also been taught to fear. Hello, Stockholm Syndrome. Gotta remember
Mhm.
that most so-called medieval saints lived in privileged positions within religious systems that upheld their beliefs, while others suffered under those same doctrines. When fear is the foundation, love can look a lot like conditioning.
Oh, snap. Good response,
Oh.
Patty.
So that was me being like, love? Really? Love? Because to me, I'm like, love something that doesn't actually exist, that you have no proof exists. Like, no, we're in imaginary friend territory. And so you're conditioned into believing that this thing's real, which is
Yep.
making your brain intentionally delusional.
Right.
Right?
And
Okay.
obviously it's very personal for the two of us from the start too, because we were taught we were supposed to love a God that we had tremendous fear for. In fact, we were taught more to fear this God than love him.
Well, we were taught that fear was love,
Yeah, which is, oh
which
my
how
God.
does that make any sense? Okay. So I got
Uh, yeah.
a reply that's like 3 paragraphs long, short paragraphs, but 3 paragraphs
Great.
long after that. So, me saying that believing in God is basically Stockholm syndrome might have triggered something for this person. Oops.
Good.
Okay, here we go. Your thesis was that old Christianity was solely on the fear of hell, and only modern evangelicalism gave us a personal relationship to God, and therefore nobody should be Christian because that is historically not the case.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm confused by that
I'm gonna,
whole
he keeps going. The idea that
verse.
evangelicals came up with this is refuted by those early saints. Your entire thesis is wrong. The early church had the same view of God and the necessity of knowing God as it does today, American evangelicalism notwithstanding. Nor, I think, does hell disprove Christianity. If anything, a religion that was invented by humans would lack any sense of consequences for actions. If we made God in our image, he would look a lot more like Dionysus and a lot less like Yahweh. Eh,
Wait,
says who? Like, I don't know. Just, yeah.
I'm still okay, but this is what people do. They throw all kinds of random shit. This sounds like random
Yes.
shit to me. If he's
It,
trying to make a point here, I did not find it.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But the part where he's saying your thesis was that old Christianity was solely on, I think he meant based, but was solely on the fear of hell and whatever, right? Okay, so he's twisting the argument, right? Because he's saying he inserts solely as if
Okay.
I'm trying to say that the only thing they do to control people is I mean, it's a weird point that he's trying to make by inserting solely, because I didn't say it that way, right? I'm just saying,
No,
like, oh, stuff like hell doesn't work. So they invented personal relationship with God. Isn't that
which
great?
is
So,
true. That's so fucking true. But you're saying it in a general sense too, not like, yeah, that is the
well,
only
in kind of
reason. But
recent
he's
days, but he's like, oh no, they had that love of God way back when too. They didn't, like they didn't invent it now.
did
But
they though?
but that's where he's twisting. He's saying that I said it was solely on the fear of hell and it's only modern stuff, right?
Hmm. Does this
So
person have a deep resentment of evangelicals too? I get a little sense that he's sorry, I keep saying he. I mean, it sounds like a he to me, but I guess I don't know.
they're trying to make it seem as if I claimed that ancient Christianity was only fear-based, right? Which is
Mhm.
then forcing me to defend something about ancient Christianity, which is like not even at all what I was talking about, right? So
Mhm.
like it moves me off of my point.
There's a little gish galloping in there.
I think women experience the misogynistic aspect of this, where their words are, I mean, this happens to everybody, but I do think especially to women that their words are sort of misrepresented
Mhm.
to like try to say that what your words were saying was something you weren't actually saying. You know what I mean? Because here
Like
this guy's going
gaslighting?
off on, well, kind of, but this guy's going off on like ancient ancient Christianity and what existed in ancient Christianity when I was just like, I was just talking about this shift to the new personal Jesus. Like, I didn't put dates on it, dude. Like, I wasn't talking about the medieval saints at all. Like, why are you
Right.
going there? Weird, right? Yeah. So, I mean, because when you start pulling out like, oh, ancient whatever, you must not know about the ancient texts where they did love him in that same way. It's
Mhm.
trying to be like, to represent my argument as weak because it clearly doesn't have the historical backing that theirs does. You know what I'm saying?
Get pissed off,
But it's not
Pat.
even what I was talking about. It's not
Right.
even what I was talking about. Right. It's
Yeah.
not what the video was about. My gosh.
I mean, this is what people deal with in these call-in shows like The Line and Atheist Experience, but then they have to come up with something on the spot. You know, they don't have a lot of time to think of it, and they get people like this all the time.
What happened was I did get sucked into it then for at least one more comment, right? Before it was like, what the heck am I talking about? This isn't even the point. You know, but it took me a little bit of time to figure that out. If I had caught it right from the beginning, I could have said something like, you are misrepresenting my point. What I'm talking about is the shift in modern evangelicals' messaging.
And you're absolutely correct in what you're saying with the shift. How many times has Christianity changed its stance on things because they need to adapt to what's going on in society?
That's what churches have always done. They've shifted just with the culture because the culture creates the church anyway. My gosh.
Right.
The whole God is the same today, yesterday, and tomorrow is like the most ridiculous phrase
Really?
to cling on
Because
to. It's like a mantra for conservatives. Well, anyway, okay, so after this person comes back with trying to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about because I clearly don't have the historical context of people having loved Jesus outside of the fear of hell, whatever.
well, here's my question too. So what if there's this group of Christians that were more like love-based towards Jesus and yay Jesus people? So fucking what? We're talking
I
about
know. Doesn't prove
the
that it exists.
yes.
It's so silly.
Like at any point you're trying to make, you can look at one small example here or there to be able to, I don't know, mold whatever it is you're trying to. I don't know what the fuck he's trying to
Just
defend here.
derail.
Like,
Just derail and tell a woman who made him question his beliefs a little bit, which made him feel terrified. And then he was like, it's a woman. So then he had an anger that was ready to lash out to make himself feel bigger. Like all these little hurt things just layer themselves on top of each other to make all of this happen. It's fine. Okay, so here was my response to all of that. Because remember, he said the word thesis twice.
mhm.
Thesis. You know what a thesis is?
Yeah, but that wasn't a fucking thesis.
Yeah, I said, your acting like a 3-minute clip is supposed to be a full dissertation. Obviously, no complex system, especially one as long-lived and adaptable as Christianity, has a single cause or method. Fear of hell was a major driver, but so was political power, social control, and shifting cultural narratives.
Nice.
You want to get nuanced, dude? Let's get nuanced.
All right, what did he say to that?
Ooh, we're just going to double down on the historical stuff. Watch this. So, this person says back to me, always strikes me as odd people bring up social control for Christianity. They're dropping words that seem strange and a little bit bot-like. I'm not sure. We'll see. Always strikes me as odd people bring up social control for Christianity. It certainly didn't start with any social control. It was a bunch of fishermen that spread it. The Roman emperors took a huge power cut when Theodosius declared the state religion as Christianity, since he abolished the imperial cult, worship of the emperor as a god. No, because culture changes, you fuck. All right. Catholics today have a less Jesus is just my pal view than Protestantism, but to say that it is or ever was rooted entirely in fear and oppression is disregarding historical sources to the point of absurdity. Okay, dude. He says Catholics today have, but to say that it is or ever was. Like, he's like to say this about Catholics is law. I'm like, I didn't fucking say anything about Catholics. Like literally I was talking about evangelicalism. Like literally. I said that. Isn't that fun, Nancy?
I'm very proud of you for taking this shit on because you know what I would have commented had I, seen it at the time? I probably would have just said something funny and be like, yeah, that sounds like a great read, but let me finish those 10 smut books I was reading, including the Kama Sutra that I have on my on my nightstand. Let me read those first, then I'll get to that one.
So this section I'm like, okay, so like you're just trying so hard to draw me into this historical debate that like doesn't matter for shit. Like, do you want me to like bend over and kiss your ass because you knew the name Theodosius? What are you doing? Not at all what I'm talking about. I'm talking about how these concepts move through people groups, through an entire culture, how people are controlled by big ideas that the church uses. Holy shit, I don't give a fuck about writings of Theodosius and how much he wanted to suck Jesus's dick. Like,
But that's what a lot of Christians do, Pats. They'll take little bits of historical information and think that it works on all these different scenarios. And it doesn't. I'm like, you're trying to make yourself sound smart, but you really are avoiding what we're actually discussing here.
right. And they're trying to sideline the voices of women online who are critical of religious things by acting like they're all smart about churchy things that, oh, that means I know more about the historical things or something more original than you do. So therefore, your voice is irrelevant. And they're trying to set themselves up as some sort of like, I'm an intellectual authority, and therefore the little ladies need to be quiet. Like, fuck all the
You
way
know what
off.
I
Fuck
say to
all the
that?
way off. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, this definitely isn't the first time that we have had to deal with some misogynistic pricks thinking that, oh, we don't know what we're talking about because we're just silly little girls. What do we know? We're not scholar. Oh, we've been told that before too, right, Pats? You guys are not biblical scholars. I'm like, yeah.
If I wasn't aiming for getting this episode's worth of crazy commentary, I probably should have ended the conversation right there because what they proved I'm not going to engage with your original video. I'm just going to say something that's demeaning. And then when I did try to call them back to the actual issue at hand, they doubled down on it and tried to show that they were smarter. So at that point, it's like, well, this is not an honest person in this conversation. And so honestly, to me, that's like proof and you should walk away, you know?
Right. But at this point, yeah, you're saying to yourself, "Oh, this will be good for content," and you kind of just wanted to see where it would go, right?
Indeed. Yes, at this point I was like, what the heck else are you gonna say? And like it almost became like a blinking contest, you know? Like I wanted to see would they keep coming back? Like how many times would they keep coming back to say some other dumb stuff, you know?
Hmm. Oh yeah, I've baited some trolls before, just for funsies.
Okay, so then they just ended by telling me how absurd I was, right?
Yep.
And talking about the little Pollyanna idea that it was a bunch of sweet fishermen that spread the idea. So couldn't ever have been anyone in power controlling people. Okay. So what I said back was, so we're just skipping over how the Bible itself was compiled under Roman authority, huh? Because that's kind of important. And not until the fourth century, long after mythological fishermen supposedly spread the message. Theodosius didn't lose power by making it the state religion. He weaponized it, outlawing pagan practices and enforcing Christian rule. All right, at this point, did I know any of that shit? No. Do I have the internet too, little head? Yes. All right. The Bible. Yes, I said Bible.
I'm gonna start using that when I have the fucking bibble. Ah.
Bibble for wiping up your dribble. All right. The Bibble isn't some sacred. Oh, that's fucking good. The Bibble for wiping up your dribble, because that's what it does. Can dribble your sinful shit everywhere and then just be like, get it with the Bibble. Now I'm clean again. Why did I kind of do that in a Trump voice?
Wow,
Okay.
Pats, you can get into some serious merch with that one.
I know, right? Okay. The Bible isn't some sacred, untouched truth. It was handpicked by church leaders serving an empire, deciding which stories would define the faith and discarding the others as heresy. The Gospels weren't even written by eyewitnesses. Funny how mythology doesn't have eyewitnesses. And their contradictions scream regurgitated mythology, not history, as do their themes and characters. Christianity, like every other dominant religion, evolved into a tool of control, using divine punishment and promised reward to keep people in line.
That was good. How long did it take you to compile that, huh?
A little while. I tried not to spend too much time. It was like every 45 minutes to an hour, I'd look back and see if there was a new comment. There always was.
Mhm. Of course. Oh
Okay,
yeah, he was just waiting for your comment so
I
that he could get
guess.
on it. Yep. Look at you, Patty. Snarky. Snarky biatch. I was just like, fuck that guy.
I know. Well, I mean, it just makes no sense because it's like, I guess, well, and we'll see in this next comment, it's like he doesn't get that he's Catholic and like he's got a whole different thing going on than what I'm talking about. Like, I'm sure all the same shit is there, but like, not what I'm talking about. All right, so he says, we didn't skip over anything. You were discussing the relationship of God to the faithful. Then we brought up control. Neither of these have anything to do with the canon. Because I mentioned in the last one the canon of how the Bible was made.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
because he was saying how so see I'm kind of still going down his road too much, right?
Yeah, I mean, you were, but you're addressing literally everything that he is talking about, even though he is derailing. You're still making your good points and shutting down each one of them that he's trying to make.
Right, because he's trying to say that like when because I'm trying to make the point, which is already derailed, but I'm trying to make the point that Christianity was come up with as a measure of control.
Mhm.
And he's trying to say, "Oh no, no, it was people being even better than they were before because that means the emperor isn't God. That means he recognizes God as God. So that's better. He took a pay cut." And so then my point was like, "Hello, literally created by Rome to control people. Like We know this. So that's my assessment of the conversation so far.
Good, I'm enjoying it.
The Gospels have unanimous support from patristic writings predating both the legalization of Christianity under Constantine and the later adoption as the official religion of the empire under Theodosius. The Meritorian Fragment and the Irenaeus against heresies list them all in the mid-second century. The Gospels that were rejected weren't some tamer version of Jesus either. They absolutely jumped the shark. Even ones Why you say that? Even ones that have orthodox theology like the Proto-Evangelium of James make the canonical Gospels look like a police report. Nor do the canonical Gospels have any more contradictions in them than you would expect from different people seeing the same event. Go look up eyewitness accounts of any given event. None of these prove Christianity, and I am not arguing for it in this conversation. I am arguing against your attempts to discredit it using bad arguments that don't look at either historical sources or basic scrutiny.
What the fuck was that ramble?
Well, right at the end, it's telling me that like you're trying to make it look bad, but like you didn't look at history and you didn't even use a good brain. That's what the end of it says.
Oh, well, yeah, that part I caught, yes. But all the other shit.
Oh, I mean, I don't even care. It's like tripling down on the I know historical shit, so therefore you noticing cultural shifts is inaccurate. What are you talking about, dude? No, I'm pretty sure that the Proto-Evangelium of James has jack shit to do with the fact that modern evangelicals talk about a personal relationship with Jesus and use the imaginary friend game to keep children in line. I don't care about your old Catholic writings. And so, like, I'm still getting upset about it, but like, see how he's like,
Yeah.
derailing, derailing, derailing. I'm smarter than you. You don't know anything. Look at me, how much history I know. I bet you don't know any fancy names and books to spit out.
And yet you're replying with them. So, do you guys keep going at this point?
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so he's saying in there that he's not even advocating for Christianity. He's just trying to tell you you were wrong about saying that like, a society went from like the fear of hell to like love of Jesus,
Yeah,
which you're
but he's
absolutely
not
correct.
actually saying anything against what I'm saying. He's just trying to show how I don't understand history and something about not doing basic scrutiny. So like I didn't think about it right. What?
But again, like which part was he talking about? There was all kinds of crap in there. I couldn't
I
like
know.
what?
You were might have been right then with the Gish Gallop stuff that you were saying a minute ago. Because yeah, it's just like, huh? Like, oh, okay, let me go do like a whole bunch of research to like what are we even talking about here? So anyway, so this is me just being like, what the fuck, dude? Like I've tried so at this point I've already tried twice to be like, that's not what I was talking about in the video. Why are you even talking about this?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so here's what I say. You're spending a lot of energy bringing up early Christian texts and saints, but that was never the point of my video. Whether the Gospels had early support, whether non-canonical texts jumped the shark, or whether you want to argue over biblical contradictions, none of that changes the fact that Christianity continues to shape and control people's lives today. So I was using it for like a moment to get my message that I want to get out still, right?
Right? Right.
What I actually discussed was how evangelicalism rebranded faith to keep people emotionally invested once fear-based tactics lost their grip. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, modern Christianity, especially in its evangelical form, conditions people to distrust themselves, fear doubt, and submit to an invisible authority. That's the conversation I'm having and what actually matters. So if your goal is to argue church history, go ahead. I'll continue calling out religious bullshit that continues to harm people. So here's what he says back. Oh, why is this so much fun? Okay. He
Damn.
says, of course, I'm spending a lot of effort on it. If you are going to claim there is a wide gap between modern Christianity and ancient Christianity, you'd better be prepared to show that is the case. Trust me, bro, is just as dumb an argumentative tactic as the Bible says it's true, so it must be. What? He's still saying ancient Christianity. I never once said anything about ancient Christianity at all.
Nope.
Like, anybody watching it can decide when they think it was that the church did fear-based tactics of hell, but everyone knows that they did.
Right.
So he's gotten down to accusing me of doing trust me, bro,
Hmm.
not religion, which is claiming there's a God that can't be seen or proved.
Yes. It's a
Awesome.
shift blame.
That was a shorter reply, so I'm hoping they were hoping that I would stop at that point, but I'm gonna go for it again. So then I say, you keep insisting I made a claim about ancient Christianity when my original point had nothing to do with debating historical theology, nor did I mention anything ancient. I never needed to prove a wide gap because my point was about how modern Christianity functions, not how it compares to ancient versions of itself. Evangelicalism, as it exists today, strategically repackaged its messaging to stay emotionally relevant. That's not a theory. It's a clear shift in emphasis from external fear, hellfire, damnation, to internal dependence, a personal relationship with Jesus. That shift doesn't require me to analyze patristic texts. It's observable in how evangelicalism operates right now. So if you're spending all this effort debating early church history, that's on you. I'm over here talking about how Christianity is still keeping people trapped in self-doubt, fear, and submission to invisible authority. That's what matters. If you want to engage with that, I'm listening. If you just want to keep debating historical theology, that's not the conversation I'm having. So I basically said the same thing again, just with different
Hmm.
words. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And you were much clearer this time, even. How long is it taking him to respond to these comments of yours?
Well, let's see.
I'm just curious.
Mm,
He's
maybe 45 minutes to just over an hour between.
Oh,
Because
okay. So
throughout the
both of
day, I was
you.
just going back every hour or so to look.
Oh, but he is doing the same. So both of you are taking about 45 minutes to an hour to respond to each other.
Or maybe a little less, but yeah, about that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I know. It was an interesting cadence all day. Then they say, if you claim there is a wide gap between then and now, which I didn't, like, they were the ones that said that. And then I was like, I'm not saying that. And then they're like, if you claim
Right.
that, what the
He's the one
fuck?
that said
I
that.
know, they're the one that said that. If you claim, no, I didn't. You did. It's in, like, it's right there. Okay. If you claim there's a wide gap between then and now, I said it changed. Oh my God, it shifted.
Yes,
Wide
it
gap
changed
then, now it didn't
slowly. There
define
wasn't
what,
a
I didn't
gap.
define the size of the gap. It didn't define when the then was. It didn't define the now. I just, holy shit. Holy shit. You
He
are
just
by
wishes he had.
definition, listen to this. If you claim there is a wide gap between then and now, you are by definition discussing ancient Christianity. That's the then part of the conversation that you said. You can't make a claim something is different now and then say you aren't talking about what it was like before it was different. You are being intellectually dishonest. Not fun. Not fun.
I want to hear what you said back to that.
Okay. Oh, it's so ridiculous. Okay. Um, I said, and this response looks like it took me 42 minutes to do. Well, not that I spent the whole time on it, but okay. Acknowledging that something has changed over time isn't the same as making a historical argument. I pointed out that modern evangelicalism evolved its messaging, which is obvious without digging through ancient texts. And this is where I'm like, I've already said this. Ugh.
Mhm.
If you want to keep nitpicking phrasing instead of engaging with the real issue, how Christianity still traps people in fear, doubt, and submission. So at this point, I'm like beating my dead horse, and you don't get it. That's on you. But hey, every comment boosts my channel, so keep going.
And that's the point at which you say, yeah, you're just helping out our channel by leaving all the comments. So thank you.
Right, when I'm repeating myself, I'm like, what the heck? Okay. So, all right. So then here's what comes back. Then a little constructive criticism will go a long way. Bad apologetics channels are a dime a dozen. If you want to drive your channel to the levels Alex O'Connor, then developing arguments stronger than subreddit atheism will help. Well researched, sourced, and vetted arguments are imperative in the search for truth.
What the fuck?
So they're like dismissing the content as low quality, right? Bad apologetics channels are a dime a dozen. We don't even do apologetics. Like
No, we
literally it
don't.
was critique, not like I mean we would be doing counter apologetics, not apologetics. So I
Wait, he
don't know
knows
if
we're an
they
atheist channel, right?
I I think so because they were then saying like that we're low quality, like we're pulling our arguments from the subreddit atheism. That's what they were referencing.
Okay.
So they're dismissing like the content as like not being good or not being like well researched, whatever arguments, but they are literally never actually addressing the argument. They're just saying some other shit that they want to talk about.
He
So
wanted
like
all this
trying to
information in a 3-minute clip?
it was a thesis, Nancy.
Yeah, yeah. He's expecting a thesis, but you can't get a thesis out in a 3-minute fucking clip that we took from another episode. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Right. I
Just
mean, isn't that the way to make like try to imply that someone's work is terrible as if you won't even engage with the argument, but you just like nitpick them about other stuff?
we got a lot more of these nitpickers early on when we had just started our channel. You know, we had a lot of people like making fun of us that we were a small channel and all that. I'm like, yeah, that tends to fucking happen when you just start a channel, morons.
It's so weird.
Like
It's so weird.
people with millions of subscribers still started with 10 at one point, you know.
The biggest takeaway of that is like they weren't actually engaging in any kind of argument. They were just trying to gatekeep, like just kind of dismissing what I'm saying and trying to make sure that it looks like the things that we are saying on our channel aren't even worth looking at. To be like, well, if you can't talk about Theodosius, like, I mean, why would anyone even listen to your talks? Like, okay, you're
We're
not
not here for that. We're not
not the
here for
target market. You're not the target market. Yeah.
yeah. This guy clearly doesn't understand that we are a channel who are where we're trying to help people get over their religious trauma. And obviously he's adding fuel to that fire.
Well, right. I mean, that's exactly the whole thing. Everything he did was meant to be a personal attack on our intelligence,
Mhm. Yeah.
which is playing into misogynistic stereotypes about women not being as intelligent. And stuff like that is like we understand that that's going to hit the sore spots in women, right? Because women already have so much conditioning and traumas that prevent them from feeling like it's okay for their voices to be heard. So that then that's really easy for, misogynistic fuckers like this to move in and know exactly how to poke those hurts by subtly questioning intelligence through tactics like this.
Yeah. Well, then what happened at that point? Was that the end of the conversation, or were you like, well, go watch Alex O'Connor then? Why the fuck are you even commenting on our channel if you think it's such low quality? I mean, you have to wonder. You know what? Before starting any conversation like this, I really just want to ask people, what is your goal here? Okay, if I say something that obviously you are triggered by, let's try and dissect to see why, first of all, you're triggered. Can we get to that little bit where you're all of a sudden going off on a fucking tangent trying to tear us down when we're really not solving the problem at all? Well, and sometimes people can be triggered because maybe deep down they agree with something.
Oh, I think that's entirely it. Right. I think if you get your cognitive dissonance that you've worked so hard to build up and somebody comes and just like knocks some blocks off of it, I think it really gets all your protectors going.
Oh
Yep.
yeah,
I totally.
that's them a lot. Yeah. I don't know if that's a conversation that actually progressed. I don't know what the fuck that was, but
No, well, I mean, I guess the thing is, so see how at the end he pivoted it? So there was no like winning this debate because I just kept telling him he wasn't even engaging with the right argument. And so then he flips and he's like, "Oh, well, maybe you could just take a little constructive criticism then, huh?" You know, like, which is then again trying to put himself in a position of power over me as if he's someone, like, as if all of his things he was saying was just him trying to, help me have better arguments so that I can, keep up with the big guys, you know?
like biblical scholars, right? Like we're supposed to have all the same information that biblical scholars do.
Well, like he's a man and he's got to educate us about things because
What
we're
does he know that we
ladies.
can't look up ourselves?
Nothing, because that's how the world works now. But okay, so he clearly lost this argument, whatever it was he was trying to have there against my video, or but at me, whatever. But to turn that into unsolicited advice is like a shitty way to try to claim dominance over someone.
Oh,
So
absolutely. That's
that
exactly.
is a piece to look out for if you have people coming at you and they think they're going to tell you what you need to do something better or to have it all figured out like they do. Yeah, that is a power move and you got to shut that down. You can smile to yourself about what they're doing and you walk away.
Yay.
But
Oh.
whatever he did, like it worked. Like he meant for me to feel belittled, and I did. Because
Hmm.
throughout this whole conversation, I was like, what is this feeling? Why do I feel like absolute shit about this? And it was making me feel like nervous and scared to respond and like, right? Like
Intimidation. He was trying to
I
intimidate
I
you.
did feel intimidated, right? So this shit was working on the conditioning that I had within me, but thankfully, I'm also now healed and mature enough to know what he's doing and to see it. And so
Yeah.
when I was doing this, I was like working with these feelings in my body, and as soon as I hit upon misogyny as the core of these things that he was saying is when it all made fucking sense to me. And so now I have an awareness of what misogyny feels like in my body when that bullshit's coming my way.
Hmm.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
did go on though, if you'd like to hear the last,
Yeah, there's more. Okay, let's hear
just a little bit more. Okay.
it.
Here's what I said. Ah, the classic constructive criticism pivot. Let's break down what you're actually doing here. Now that your historical derailment didn't work, you're pretending to give helpful advice instead of just admitting you weren't engaging with the actual point. Calling our content a dime a dozen is just a backhanded way of dismissing it without addressing what I'm actually saying. Comparing the channel to Alex O'Connor as if that's our goal is just another way to imply I need to prove myself, but I don't need your approval to discuss how belief harms people. Ending with the search for truth is just another way to make yourself look objective while dodging the real issue. How Christianity still traps people in fear, doubt, and submission, which is what was being talked about. If this conversation has shown anything, it's that you're more invested in defending the system than questioning its impact. If you're not here to discuss that, then go away.
Oh, Patty, so it's getting spicy now.
All right, one more reply from them. If you want to claim that Christianity does that, be my guest. It's also the system that brought the most egalitarian forms of government to the world, provided the groundwork for the scientific revolution, built the world's university system, and brought the greatest equality to women of all religious systems. Fuck off.
Is he
Like, talk
joking?
about a gish gallop. I mean, what are we gonna do? Sit and like, I don't even,
Yeah.
like, these
That
things
is
aren't things you prove. This
that
is,
is pure Gish Gallop right there. Yes.
yes, like, okay, great. You could point to like a handful of things that were accomplished by someone who was Christian. Like, hello, literally the whole Western world was Christian for the last 2000 years. Like, shut
Right.
up. Go away. Christianity tried to stop science, and the only way it doesn't stop science is when science is just so overwhelming that Christianity looks fucking stupid. Okay,
At all the universities, yeah, Christianity had quite the head start with finances. They had
right?
money coming in for so long. Of course, they were able to do so many more things. And it's
Right,
still fear-based. It's still fucking fear-based.
right. I mean, this is just clinging to your daddy, you know, without looking at reality.
Now, I'm curious, did you respond to that?
I did say one more thing, and they actually didn't respond after this one.
Okay, so
Um,
you had the last word.
hmm Oh, because I did delete it. I made it so that, like, it's not deleted, but it's marked so that their comments only appear to them now.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, because, yeah, I could have left this one, honestly. But anyway, so my final words to them were, you've misunderstood my content from the start, but still chose to sit here and tear it down anyway. This is my channel, and I will say what I want on it. Goodbye.
And if you don't like it, you can fuck off. I mean, it really is that simple.
Well, so I mean, we saw him try to derail the conversation over and over, which like didn't draw me out or didn't deter me with all the big fancy historical things that he knew about. Tried really hard to tone police me. And then when none of that worked, and he didn't really have any point and didn't want to address the actual thing I was talking about, then he tried to say what he was doing was advice. Let me just give you advice, little girl. So, yes, figuring out what misogyny felt like in my body and seeing how easily someone can be reacting to the misogyny they carry within them, even if they're not saying direct misogynistic words, was
Right.
incredibly enlightening for me in this process.
So it was a good learning experience for you too, huh? And for others who are, viewing this.
Right.
Signs to watch for.
Exactly.
See,
Exactly.
comments like from this dude is actually sort of like triggering my ADHD. And so like I couldn't even try to respond to this guy. I'd be like I would be trying to address everything that he's saying bit by bit. But the fact that there's so much there and nothing really he's really not saying anything. He's sprouting facts is what he's doing and I just don't have the time or energy to like address every single one and it's not
But
accomplishing
you
anything.
shouldn't have
I
to.
I shouldn't have to, right. And I'm always trying to make a point when I'm talking about things, whether I'm talking about how I feel about something or I'm saying, well, we have a problem here, so let's get to a solution. And in conversation, sometimes I just want to start a conversation with somebody to be like, okay, what is your goal in this? What are you trying to get to? Like before we even start a conversation, I kind of want to know, even if it's just to say, I want to have a conversations about such and such topic, but you still have some sort of goal in mind, whether it's I want to know more about this topic, and maybe you can go even further. Like, why do you want to know about that topic? Is there something in your life and like I want to know about this so that I can and I don't know do this over here, let's try to figure out what that was. Otherwise, yeah, we're gonna get babbling incoherent crap like this guy just did.
Right. You can tell he didn't really have a purpose because the whole thing just quickly devolved into like power plays and then putting us down um, without really having a point other than to say we hadn't considered something, you
Mm.
know? But the thing we hadn't considered was literally not part of the thing, not part of the
But he
video.
didn't explain what we didn't consider either. Well, why didn't he just take like whichever part of that 3 minute clip that it was probably something well, we know it was something you said, but take that like, one or two sentences that you had said and go from okay, here's what you said, here's my like rebuttal, or if he literally did want us to say something that was I don't know, better. Like
This is
I
what
don't
I'm
know what he
trying to
was doing.
say. This is what I'm saying. The only thing he was doing was reacting, trying to find something negative or wrong to point out about our content because what we said made him feel like they're saying my church is bad and I can't think my church is bad. My church is good. They said they're good. If I think my church is bad, then I'm bad. I
Yeah.
think that's all of the bullshit that was conditioned into people that could have happened to make all of that drivel and Theodosius happen in our comment section for no good
Fucking
reason.
Theodosius again.
Fuck you, Theodosius.
And
Good
medieval
grief.
saints. I mean, you, Patty, you could write out what you said in those, what, one, two, maybe three sentences and list all the points that he had addressed. You know, medieval saints. We had Catholics in there. We had evangelicalisms referenced in there. We had just ancient Christianity in general. We had the term thesis come up a couple of times. What the fuck?
It's a 3 minute YouTube short, you doink. So it's laughable now, but I did think there was something serious happening there because there was all that manipulation.
Mhm.
There was a lot of threads that I think are easily identifiable as being rooted in misogyny. And so that's why that needed to be put out here because I don't want women or queer people or anyone whose voices have been squelched by oppressive systems to feel like their voice is less than valuable because of absolute baloney comments like that. Like, there is always some dummy in the world who thinks that they want to make you feel bad. Like, honestly, I swear it's just people walking around feeling bad. And so they're looking for anyone that they've been conditioned to think they're better than, and then they go find something to kick. You know, like, this is hurt people hurting people. It really is.
Yeah, the derailment questions really get to me. That's what trolls do.
Yes. It
It's like
is. It
they
is.
each have a notebook with different either points or questions that they just want to throw out. They're just kind of waiting for the right time to do it.
Well, it's
But
like
again,
they've been emotionally abused their whole life, where they
oh,
could
right.
never do
Yeah,
anything wrong for their caregivers. Where I imagine it was, and I'm laughing. I shouldn't laugh because I know this is real, that people went through
right.
trauma like this, where they could never get anything right. Everything they did was criticized. And so they self-criticize every one of their own thoughts. So they're able to easily criticize anything they come across on the internet.
Yeah. But the
You
thing is,
know?
we were strong enough to recognize that abuse, rise above it, and make sure that we don't continue the cycle. This guy is continuing the cycle. So he's just traumatizing more generations to follow.
Mhm.
And he's triggered because we are over here trying to put a stop to it.
Because we're trying to be liberated and
Mm.
not controlled by the thing that he's controlled by.
Oh, that's so dark.
Oh,
Yes.
right.
So,
Don't you think? Don't you think that's why Christians get upset at
yeah,
you trying to call out things that are wrong about it? Is because that shakes the very foundation of who they think they are, because they've never been allowed to realize that they are them and not a child of God.
yes.
It's a problem. It's breaking brains that the rest of us have to deal with for an entire lifetime.
Yes. Yeah, good job on that, Pats. I think that was well worth the amount of time and brain cells that you spent on it, just to get this example of how these typically work. I know we have other examples that we can pull up, but I love that this went on for quite some time with the back and forth. We could really dissect it. I don't know what we dissected, but that there we have it.
If you enjoyed this episode with Nancy and I, go ahead and hit like, subscribe to the channel if you aren't, leave a comment, and share it with someone else who might like to hear what Nancy and I have to say. And if you really like us and you want to see us keep going, you can become a channel member or join us on Patreon, and your financial donation keeps the show going.
And if you really didn't like it and you're just a troll and you want to do shit like this, go ahead and put a bullshit comment in so that we can have a nice back and forth just like this one.
And maybe you'll find yourself on a future episode of the Apostate Sisters. Like and
Like and subscribe.
subscribe. It's not doing it. Oh, there it goes.
There it goes.
And
Come on.
fireworks.
Come on.
Like and subscribe. Oh no, like and subscribe. Ha ha ha. Suck it, trolls.